Welcome to week 11 running back rankings. It's a massive week for the position. I think I counted down to, 23 massive names here, Hayden, by way of rookies emerging, bye weeks on top of it, and a lot of the big producers still on the slate for us.
So you don't like RB24 Kareem Hunt very much then? That's where your cutoff is? I like him.
It's a spoiler. By the way, you're 6 spots ahead of consensus rankings there on
Good.
Kareem Hunt. We're going to go through all of this, and hopefully you win your week. It's that simple, and hopefully help you do it. First of all, it's Christian McCaffrey at the Arizona Cardinals. Even without Jonathan Taylor, we still got CMC to lead the charge here. He did have one of his worst performances of the season this past week, but now, he doesn't get that foe. He gets a lesser foe despite being on the road with a beat-up Cardinals defense right now.
They're almost projected for 26 points as a team. Walter Nolan picked up another injury. That's a first-round defensive tackle who's starting to show some real signs of upside there. So that would be a big win. And we might get Brock Purdy back and then maybe Ricky Pearsall. But I think generally it's the same kind of formation that we've had with CMC when he's been a total baller. So 129.5 total yards in the underdog pick'em lobby. In more states than ever, by the way. So yeah, I felt bad for you guys with a down week for Christian McCaffrey last week, and it was still rock solid. So it's we're good to go here.
He and JT are the only running backs ahead of 20 points per game. He's at 21. I believe Jonathan Taylor's at 25 at this moment. So good stuff from both of those two. Also good stuff for Devon Achane. Now, this is the Sunday morning game against the Washington Commanders in Madrid. But I don't think people realize just how special this season has been for Achane. He's now the running back 3 in points per game, ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Jacobs, and Bijan Robinson. And he has not scored worse than the running back 16 in any given week this year. I mean, that is stability from, let's say, an unstable situation that has been the Miami Dolphins so far in 2025.
Yeah, and just a great matchup to continue it as well. Commanders are extremely slow up the spine of their defense. Some fast running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs put up 37. DeAndre Swift, 25 fantasy points. Bijan Robinson, 26 points. And I think Devon Achane's just very similar to those backs. So he's been balling out. The only bad game we've had for Miami is really that Browns game. Other than that, they've been putting up enough yards and at least funneling the ball to Devon Achane. So I think it's a great opportunity for him to have one of these crazy spike weeks. And also want to give a quick shout out. Their left tackle, I think, is actually good, Patrick Paul, and same thing with their center and Aaron Brewer. So the other spots across the offensive line, totally hear you guys, but they use those guys on pullers and get them out in space. And obviously they're out there in the screen game and whatnot. Having two really quick left tackle and center is enough for Mike McDaniel to kind of work around the other guys.
You mentioned it. It's these edge runs that the Commanders just cannot stop right now.
Nope.
I bring it up every single show. Frankie Louvu and especially Bobby Wagner stuck in the mud. And over this 5-game losing streak, they've allowed 5.5 yards per carry to running backs. And by the way, the Dolphins can get to their edge runs differently than just about anyone else by the screens that they have, the misdirection that they have, or simply just lining Devon Achane up at wide receiver. So this is one of the best matchups that we've had for a running back versus an opponent's weakness all season long. And Hayden, that means just going to end in punishment for you and I.
Well, the other thing with this matchup too is the Commanders, both of their starting outside corners are on injured reserve now with Lattimore and Amos. So it's
and edge players, the edge rushers too.
Depth. So Devon Achane is going to have goal line opportunities perhaps in this one too, because I just think the Dolphins offense, even without Tyreek Hill, has a huge advantage over this styled Dan Quinn defense.
Okay, let's talk about Josh Jacobs. He's your running back 3. This is at the New York Giants. Everyone just saw the Green Bay Packers put up 7 points in a primetime matchup, and then they should look at their projected team total this week and see 25.25.
Yep. And even when they score 7 points, Josh Jacobs finishes with 20 points in fantasy. He's the whole offense right now. The Giants, third worst against the position. They're averaging 5.8 yards per carry allowed. So even when Green Bay struggles, it's just so Josh Jacobs dependent, especially when they get down to the 5-yard line where he's pretty much automatic. He scored basically a touchdown per game since he's joined Green Bay. And this is a great spot to kind of continue on with that. Did want to note Elton Jenkins was just placed on injured reserve. The offensive line has not been all that impressive to me. And I think that might explain the difference between Green Bay being that elite offense tier into this good to great offense, kind of frustrating offense tier. The offensive line is not as good, so you're not going to get the same explosives out of Jacobs as the other guys surrounded him. But touchdown odds, I mean, you're projected for 26 points and you're the goal line back and there's like no mistakes about it. He's just the guy. Like that has a lot of value.
And remember those weeks where prior to that one game, he was questionable to play. It was either Sunday night or Monday.
Yeah.
And he was playing like 55 or 60% of snaps. That jumped all the way back up to over 70, 75% this past week. To me, he looks fully healthy. And he's scored a touchdown in 8 of 9 games this season. So he's not coming off the field in that spot.
And also just like targets for him, 6, 5, 3, 1, 5, 4, 9. Like that's more than you'd think.
I think without Tucker Kraft, you have at least an outlet option here in Josh Jacobs versus previously maybe Kraft was kind of your check and release guy. Okay. Let's talk about Rico Dowdle because he's running back 7 in consensus rankings, running back 4 here for you. Since their week 5 bye, the Atlanta Falcons have allowed 5 yards per carry to running backs. That's 24th. And 147 rushing yards per game. That's 31st for across the league. So Rico Dowdle, I think we should look at the higher or lower at 145 rushing yards this week.
The real one's at 108 total yards, which is a lot.
Is it really?
108.5 total yards for Rico Dowdle. So yeah, we've talked about this. There's just no junk in the trunk for the Falcons run defense right now. And the entire identity of the Panthers is all Rico Dowdle. So, I mean, even the team total's at 20 flat, which is not very great, but their bottom 3 in neutral pass rate, Rico Dowdle will catch passes too if he needs to. So in his 4 starts, he's averaging 18.6 expected points. And on top of that, he's been really efficient because their interior offensive line, despite some injuries, every single time I watch the Panthers offense, Damian Lewis and the boys, I'll even say Icky, will get out in space and just completely launch defensive linemen. I think that the Falcons are just small up front.
Yeah, and Rico was not the starting running back when these two teams played in week 3 when the Panthers won 30-0. He had 10 carries for 30 yards and a touchdown in that game. So now he is. And now they're at their best when he's touching the football. That is for sure. All right, James Cook is your running back 5. This is against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Over the past 3 games, Bucs have shut down in terms of runs 0 to 5 yards, high success rate stuff. But then when they are they're got in a big way. It is to the house. According to Rich Rebar, allowed touchdown runs of 78, 69, 55 yards to Jahmyr Gibbs and TreVeyonHenderson. And in fact, I believe, was it Kenneth Walker? Someone else also had some nice 20-plus yard runs against them at the same time. We have seen James Cook have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60-plus yard runs this season. And so he kind of fits the mold of someone that could have success against this Bucs defense.
This is something that Greg Olsen was also shouting out, and is that if you put an extra man in the box, it increases like your success rate on defense, but you're also more prone to these explosive runs. And I would guess that Todd Bowles is bringing an extra guy into the box more so than a lot of like the 2 deep defenses. Right. So that kind of explains like really strong in success rate, but you can get exposed with the explosives. And also with Tampa Bay, they're allowing 52 receiving yards per game to running backs, which is the most in the NFL. So James Cook, that kind of comes and goes with him, but without Dalton Kincaid, I do wonder if that's a mismatch opportunity for James Cook. So even though like I don't love the matchup, they're still 4th in projected points, and we're losing bodies out there in Buffalo. So whenever they retreat, it goes back to James Cook.
That's something that LaDainian Tomlinson would always talk about, that he actually preferred 8 players in the box, because if you make one miss, then you're gone. You're off to the races. So that seems to have been a consistent theme of this year too. Okay, next, Bijan Robinson is your running back 6. Hayden, he's still running back 3 in consensus rankings. I believe he has 4 touchdowns on the season. Is that correct? 2 rushing touchdowns, again from Reeves, which were from 14 and 81 yards out. And then his receiving scores have been from 50 and 10 yards out, which I think is a directional point for us, where Bijan Robinson just simply is not getting the stuff inside the 5-yard line for the easy 6 points that we love in our fantasy lineups right now.
I was checking the Underdog NFL News account, which I love, and Raheem Morris called Tyler Allgeier, quote, one of our superstars. That was just from a couple of days ago. And I was looking at the Allgeier splits. Inside the 10-yard line carries, 13-5 in favor of Tyler Allgeier. So we just have to live with it with Bijan. I've been a little bit lower in consensus rankings like for a month now than Bijan, which is worked for me more times than not. I think this is like a fine enough matchup. You get the Panthers, you're projected for 23 points. He just had over 100 scoreless yards against them in that really weird game. So yeah, I think that this is a fine enough spot, but we have to acknowledge that he's more likely than not going to be utilized at the 2-yard line. So it is what it is.
Yeah. And when they faced the Panthers earlier this season, which was not a great moment for the Panthers, they stopped him to 72 yards. That was on 13 carries. And obviously the game script got out of hand and he had 5 receptions for 39 yards. So, his movement, he can have success against anyone in terms of yardage, but it always speaks to how important touchdowns are, that it equals literally a 60-yard carry.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think the yardage thing, it's always weird because I'm looking at the pick 'em lobby, 110 total yards for Bijan,
right?
But that's that's more than Rico Dowdle and James Cook, and it'll be less than Josh Jacobs. And it doesn't really bother me all that much because the other guys are just more likely to score a touchdown at this point.
Javonte Williams is your running back 7. This is at the Las Vegas Raiders. Really nice to come out of a bye and face this Raiders team for the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah. Super nice. Third in projected points, almost at 27. Just to throw out some splits with CeeDee Lamb, there's been 5 games. Javonte Williams averaging 15.5 expected points, which would be equivalent to like RB5 usage. The offensive line is fully back, ready to go. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries. They should be at full strength here. And then the Raiders defense just in general has not been very good. So it should be a really clean spot for Javonte Williams to continue being a top 10 fantasy running back.
Jaylen Warren, I'm sure when you wrote it, you thought, man, I'm way ahead of consensus rankings as running back 8 here, which is the highest he's ever been on this channel. I regret to inform you that he's running back 9 in consensus rankings. So everyone agrees here. This is from NFL Pro. All right. The Bengals defense has struggled with tackling this season, missing 109 tackles and allowing 778 yards after missed tackles, both the most in the NFL. It shows up every single time when you're watching an opponent against this Bengals defense.
Man, that's a lot. My notes are a lot simpler than that. They've allowed 30 fantasy points per game to running backs. That's 5 more than the second worst defense. So this is as eruption spotty as it gets. Caleb Johnson and Kenny Gainwell mixing in just a little bit. We're recording this before all the practice reports. He did not finish last week's game. Let's assume that he's ready to go here. But before this like sweet matchup, the Steelers offense has been pretty okay at best. And even in those, he's RB17 and RB22 usage this past month. So now we're expecting them to have a lead and score a bunch of points. All that stuff is good news for Jaylen Warren.
All right. Based on that first tier, I think my favorite entry here in the underdog pick'em or prediction market lobby is Devon Achane higher 18.5 longest rush. He's done it against better defenses, get him to the edge. It was 15.5 receiving reception, I should say. And so maybe I would want to do that, but I just think he'll have more carries obviously than receptions. As you know, underdog now in the prediction market game. In fact, I think we're over 20 states at this point, including the great states of Florida, Texas, Oregon, Missouri, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Virginia, and California. You are gorgeous, handsome people out there.
That's right.
And a couple of years ago, maybe you couldn't play on Underdog. Now you can. Use promo code The Show or click the link in the description down below. And if you play $5 your first time, I'll throw $100 in bonus cash in your direction. And obviously we've got drafts on top of it with battle royales and everything of the sort. So go and play on the Dog app right now. Next, this might shock some people, but again, we talked about it in Stats versus Film where he averages 8 yards per carry against the Giants and then 3 yards per carry against everyone else. That's Saquon Barkley as your running back 9 against the Detroit Lions.
I've kind of parked him here for a while. I don't see any reasons to really change this. He gets 25% of the goal line work, and then he needs the explosive plays, and it's just been a little bit harder for them to iron that out. Cam Jurgens, their center, didn't play this last game. Lane Johnson left, then came back heroically, but he might miss this game. That's 2 key parts of this. And then in terms of the matchup, the Lions are 4th best against fantasy running backs, which is actually even better than the Packers by a spot. They've only allowed 72 rushing yards per game on the fewest amount of carries just because it's hard to establish the run against Detroit when their offense is doing their thing. So team total is a lot lower than it typically is. So he needs explosives, and it's nothing against Saquon. I think that he looks exactly the same. It's just the entire offense, and they're trying to figure out, should we bring in multiple tight ends, but the backup tight ends can't block? They experiment with the 6 offensive linemen, which I think I would rather, if you're just going to run the ball, just bringing that 6 offensive linemen is going to be better than Calcaterra and those guys at tight end. So they're trying to figure some things out, but it's a lot harder to do if you don't have freaking Lane Johnson this week.
I agree. He looks still good as an individual, but maybe it was just my eyes or my worst memory. Did you feel like he was checking in and out more often this season than he was last year?
Yeah, I think there has been a little bit of something to that. I mean, he's not on pace for he had almost 500 touches last year.
Right.
So we're not going to get to that number. But yeah, that's also because they haven't been dominating teams like they were previously. We keep mentioning those fourth quarter stats. We haven't talked about the fourth quarter stats with Devontae Smith the entire season because the games they've been in have been close.
Okay. Derrick Henry is your running back 10. You're actually a few spots ahead of consensus, who is running back 13 for him this week at the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, Browns defense really fantastic, and Derrick Henry hasn't had a monster yards per carry since this thing has turned around here for the Ravens, and they're projected for 23.5 points this week.
Yeah, not a super clean spot for Derrick Henry at all. Browns 3.7 yards per carry allowed, third best against the position. They haven't had a 100-yard rusher against them this year. Derrick Henry didn't love that he was subbed out for that Justice Hill touchdown randomly, but that was I couldn't explain why he was in there all of a sudden. I can't explain why Keaton Mitchell plays a little bit. It's just because Derrick Henry isn't quite the same player. But even with all that, he had 15 expected points last week with Lamar Jackson back. And this month he's been the RB7 in usage. And even if Derrick Henry's not the same level player, I do think that he's going to be an above average running back versus his usage. So not a awesome spot for him, but could you see 75 yards and a touchdown here? I certainly can.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the gap in the team total, the spread is quite massive for this one at 7.5 right now. So that should indicate some rushing performances here, despite the Browns offensive line talent. Did you see that Tyler Linderbaum might hit free agency?
Ooh,
in terms of them being far apart. I think that was from Dan Graziano in contract talks. I mean, Linderbaum, I'm not going to call him a unique center across the league, but his movement capabilities can definitely be weaponized, unlike a lot of other centers across the league. And there's kind of a center epidemic right now. Even some of the best teams don't have a good center at this moment.
Yeah, he'd make a lot.
Fellas, we know this Saturday is the last time ahead of every single one of your Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays are accounted for. So go and do something special for your significant other before every other weekend is accounted for. This is your last opportunity to do it. And if you're fully out of ideas, I'll direct you to the SeatGeek app because it tells you tons of events in your area. For me, I can look at this and see Breaking Benjamin concert in my area. Man, that song and the Halo 2 soundtrack, I think it was Blow Me Away. Magnificent stuff. Or Chevelle. Look, maybe we got some real heavy metal couples out there. Chevelle the Red was an anthem in varsity football for me in the locker room. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code FANTASY10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That is 10% off any tickets, whether you're a new customer or old, with promo code FANTASY10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek. Ashton Jeanty is your running back 11. I found some rough stats today. All right.
Yeah.
So he's forced a missed tackle at the third highest rate of all running backs across the league. I think you have to have 50 carries to stack up for this. But he's been stuffed for no gain or a loss on the second highest rate across the league. And when you watch on Monday and Tuesday, when I watch and go back, because we're certainly not doing it live for the Raiders, it's unfortunate when both of those things, a positive and a negative, happen on the same play. I think that's happened 6 or 7 times this season where he's been contacted 4 yards in the backfield, breaks a tackle, and is still tackled for a loss.
Yeah, I mean, he'll break a tackle and then get hit even further behind the line of scrimmage. Now he broke a tackle and he lost 3 yards because of it. So, yeah, my stat was the team is averaging negative 0.28 EPA per carry. The next closest is at a 0.1. Or negative 0.1. It's not even close. They're on their own planet. You get Quinshon Williams back for the Cowboys. So it's not as clean of a matchup, but like you said, the Raiders are projected for a lot more than they typically
They
are.
have 24.
I know. So this is a good week for Ashton Jeanty. Like, no excuses. He is a bell cow right now. So I hope that they continue with that, because I don't think the Raiders defense is going to be able to stop the Cowboys. So hopefully we catch 4 passes from Jeanty, and hopefully he can spring one. But no Jackson Powers-Johnson up front. So it's a backup right guard against Quinshon Williams.
Okay, here's your biggest difference in consensus rankings this week. Jahmyr Gibbs is your running back 12. He's running back 5 in consensus rankings. Is this why? Why is this? Why are you fighting with the public?
Well, he's awesome, right? But he's also the RB23 in usage this month. He rotated drives like straight up with David Montgomery, and they're only projected for 22 points, which is below average. So we can't pretend that this is like the Lions team where Jahmyr Gibbs has been a top 5 fantasy running back. And he's barely been like a top 5 fantasy running back this year. I don't have it right in front of me, but he just doesn't get the same level usage as some of the other guys. He's going to have, Nolan Smith, Jalen Phillips, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. I'll throw Brandon Graham in there. 2 elite, like in terms of just coverage and just eating up space at linebacker. Cooper DeJean's a good slot corner, good tackler too. So to me, it's like one of the most difficult matchup is against Philadelphia. So, and he's splitting the work. So actually underdog pick and lobby's on my side here. 88.5 total yards, which is a lot less than like Saquon Barkley and even less than Jaylen Warren and Bijan and those guys. And I mean, at this point, like, is he that much more of a favorite over David Montgomery to score a touchdown? I'll give him slightly better odds, but we're taking that team total and we're like largely kind of cutting the touchdown projection in half.
Yeah. Last time we talked about this low of a team total for the Lions, it was week 1 against the Green Bay Packers. And that week he finished with 10 fantasy points, and that week made him the running back 25 in scoring. I'm not sure. I mean, that Packers defense was just such on a roll the first 2 weeks of the season. The Eagles can put it together though. So we'll see. Okay. TreVeyonHenderson, Thursday Night Football. Maybe the only reason to watch Thursday Night Football along with he and Drake May. What? That's a 13.5 point spread right now between these two teams.
Feels light
against the Jets. What do you want to talk about here? Because obviously he just came off 2 massive runs that were for touchdowns. He also got 3 carries from inside of the 10-yard line and including 2 at the goal line. And he should once again carry the load here for the Patriots.
I watched Ramondre Stevenson and Terrell Jennings like try to go through practice the other day, and I didn't think that they were going to be able to play based off of that. And then Mike Reese also doesn't believe they're going to come back. So it's Trevion versus
Stevenson was called out today at practice.
Okay, perfect. Dearness Johnson is going to like steal work from TreVeyonHenderson. Like there's no need to nitpick about anything with TreVeyonHenderson from this rookie season. Like he is a bell cow running back against the Jets, who don't have Quinshon Williams and Sauce Gardner, and the team total is at 28 points, which is the highest or the second highest on the week. So like we can talk about his rookie season later on. I don't care about any of it.
Yeah, no Quinshon Williams, some backup linebackers out there. Jets are allowing 105 rushing yards per game to backs this season. Trevion, this is according to Reeves, has 27 runs either off tackle or on the edge over the past 3 games. And he's averaging 8.4 yards per carry on those runs. If you eliminate that long, 50+ yard touchdown run, he's still at 6.1 yards per carry. He did that against the Cleveland Browns too, So these are their best runs. This is where they're most successful. And it's also where Trevion can just let the Jets go. I'm excited. We'll see what happens. Travis Etienne is your running back 14. This is against the Los Angeles Commanders. And you are a few spots ahead of consensus here where they have him as running back 18.
RB2 usage this month overall. So he's getting the rock a ton. He's catching some passes. He still looks explosive to me out in space. The Chargers typically pretty light in the box. They're averaging 4.9 yards per carry. Success rate's also pretty good. So I think that Jacksonville should lean on the run. Last week without Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas, the Jaguars had a 36% neutral pass rate, which would have been like the lowest in a long time. I think that they're going to make Travis Etienne like the focal point of the offense.
Interesting.
The team total is not all that great. It's only at 20 points. But he's been like efficient enough. I know it's kind of come and gone, but throughout the entire season, he's still an efficient ball carrier, breaking some tackles. And I don't think they really trust the pass game right now. So I think the easier button right now is more Travis Etienne.
On the surface, the Chargers' rushing numbers on defense are not great for them, but because of their offense, they are forcing opposing offenses to throw at a ridiculously high rate. You know, we talk about the amount of plays and the amount of points and the passing numbers that their offense puts up. And so, they're just minimizing the opposition's just ability to run the football. So that'll be an interesting one if Liam Cohen is also forced to do that, or if he just wants to continue to run the football over and over and over again, because we have seen how sporadic their passing game can be, especially with backup wide receivers at this point, or ones just traded for.
It would be really impressive if the Chargers like ran away with this game, because we're dealing with two extremely cool edge rushers against these backup tackles. So I'm expecting the game to feel relatively tight. And then in these tight ball games now, I think it'll be a lot of Travis Etienne, who's also getting some Wildcat stuff near the goal line, which is fun.
Kyren Williams is your running back 15. Again, from the worksheet, Kyren Williams has 80 of 96 backfield touches when the score is tied or they're trailing this season. And so to me, that's interesting. Not because, the Rams aren't favored this week. They are, but it's about 2.5, 3.5, depending on where you're looking here. So this should be a close game. And so while we have seen many contests where they trade drives, and I actually think that has done and benefited Kyren Williams in terms of his explosiveness and chunk gains and all of that. I think that Kyren might be, especially if they go down to the Seattle Seahawks, which is entirely possible, leaned on a bit more often here too.
It's been a pretty strict drive-by-drive rotation. My counter to that stat, which is a beautiful one, would be Kyren Williams gets the first drive and the Rams just score a touchdown on the first drive about every single time. So that will throw that stat kind of into skewed results, but it's not an easy matchup either way. Seahawks have allowed just 3.4 yards per carry to running backs this season. Like you said, I think the game should be pretty tight here. But they're so good on offense that even with him rotating drives, it like really hasn't mattered. It's like this month he's the RB12 and RB11 usage. I knocked him down a little bit because of matchup and the amount of points they're expected to score this week versus other weeks. But I feel really good about Kyren Williams. I think he is more live to catch a pass, a choice route, or create an explosive now that he's not handling as much work as he did previously.
No running back against the Seattle Seahawks defense has reached 70 rushing yards in a game so far. Wow. Okay. Aaron Jones is your running back 16. After all these names that we talked about, this might floor a few people here. Why do you think that Aaron Jones should be basically locked into people's lineups this week?
I got to be way higher than consensus on Aaron Jones, which makes me feel a little bit nervous, but here's why. He's just been dominating Jordan Mason in touches early on in games. Last week, he had the lone goal line opportunity. And this week, they're expected to score a bunch of points to get the Chicago Bears, who have a bunch of starters on injured reserve. The Vikings team total, which knows that J.J. McCarthy exists, is at almost 26 points. And they've allowed 4.9 yards per carry to running backs this season. So I think Aaron Jones largely looked pretty decent since coming off of injury. He makes me nervous that he'll always leave a game halfway through. I saw that Ryan Kelly's window to return at least opened up. We'll see if he actually is going to suit up for this one. But just looking at the team total and how much he plays, it's kind of hard to ignore Aaron Jones this week, which I have never been this high on Aaron Jones this year, but this one to me makes a lot of sense.
Bears linebackers and just their overall defense have been susceptible to receiving games. And so Aaron Jones, 30 pass routes this past week versus Jordan Mason, just 8 of them. Yep. I mean, Devin Singletary just had 53 yards out of the backfield in the receiving game against this Bears defense. Running back 20 in consensus rankings, so a few spots ahead. Chase Brown is your running back 17. This is at the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll definitely, and we already did, talk about the Bengals defense all week, but this Steelers defense has found some hope and some life after a dreadful start to the season.
They put Jalen Ramsey at safety. Did you see Jalen Ramsey just absolutely hawk down Ladd McConkey last game? Ladd McConkey was literally ahead of him out in open space, and Jalen Ramsey just straight up faster than Ladd McConkey. I was like, whoa, that is pretty impressive. So they've rearranged their defense. Also wanted to shout out Derek Harmon out of Oregon, a first-round defensive tackle, as big as a house, and he's actually causing some disruption up the middle. So maybe the Steelers defense looks a little bit better. The big thing with Chase Brown is Samaje Perine going to play or not? Ankle injury before the bye week. Don't know. But in the game where Samaje left, Chase Brown had a season high 22.1 expected points. They get Joe Flacco still, and he's been really good with Joe Flacco. So if Samaje Perine's actually out, I might have to even move him higher than this.
Yeah, because this was the game, on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago that, Joe Flacco made his debut. Then the running game actually got going for the first time, and Chase Brown's kind of been on the streak ever since then. So maybe Mike Tomlin and company can adjust just a little bit to shut that down, or maybe not. And Chase Brown continues to go off because the Bengals score a lot of points. Okay, Quinshon Judkins is next. You're running back 18. This is against the Baltimore Ravens. Question for you before you get into your spiel. I'm going to hog the mic.
Hit me.
What percent of Quinshon Judkins' rushing yards this season do you think have come after contact?
Oof. 68.
Yeah. 93.6%.
Oof.
Yeah. It speaks to how good he is because that's 525 rushing yards.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And you see it all the time. Puts his head down. They try to attack his angle or half and shoulder and brushes him off, or get these arm tackles, and then he's off the races. And we've seen it numerous times too. Like he gets to the safety or the linebacker and they try to tackle him as well, and then makes a miss. And then his acceleration to pull away is outstanding. Yeah.
He can kind of do everything because he'll lower his shoulder and finish runs, but he also bounces things, and he has enough speed to actually bounce it properly. So I've been super impressed with him. It's the same old stuff with Quinshon. They're projected for under 16 points against the Ravens, and he can get game scripted out of things. Baltimore hasn't allowed 70 rushing yards to a running back since week 3. They're healthier now. This is as bad as it gets for Quinshon Judkins. Credit to him for even being in the damn top 20. Like, that's how highly I think of him. He's a boom bust running back too. He can spring it for a long touchdown. They can be down 21 points, and Shedeur Sanders is in there for the second half, and that wouldn't surprise me either. So
he's running back 20 on the season in points per game. And again, other than that first game that he showed up in week 2, he's basically been starting ever since. And he got injured in some, but I think, again, that speaks to the situation and why attaching ourselves to any Cleveland Browns this year. Next, Breece Hall. Let's talk about Breece. All right. Because he had 21 carries for 83 yards this past game. And then the one touch that mattered because it added 10 points or 10 and a half to your fantasy catalog was the one catch that he had. That's, to me, possibly not sticky. While Breece is a good pass catcher, Isaiah Davis is playing over 55% of dropbacks. And once again, they are 13.5 point underdogs here to the New England Patriots, who are a bear in the rushing department, shutting down absolutely everyone, best rushing defense in the league. So he kind of has to catch passes in order to do this.
They're allowing 57.5 rushing yards per game to running backs, like easily the best in the NFL. It's like not even close. The Jets team total is at 15.25. Only Bijan's scored more than 11 half PPR points since week 3 against the Patriots, and Bijan scored 13.6. So I wrote in my notes here, Mike Vrabel could end Justin Fields' starting career here. I think like that's the kind of the range of outcomes. He's going to get the ball a ton though, and he looks really fast right now.
I agree.
So you can't write him off, but him versus Quinshon Judkins, is there any difference? Like why shouldn't I have these two guys right next to each other the whole season?
They have to break one, or they have to get a goal line touchdown.
Yep.
That's it. DeAndre Swift is your running back 20. This is at the Minnesota Vikings. Again, we keep talking about defenses in certain stretches of the season because they change throughout the year. This Viking defense was terrible against the run open the season, and then they really flipped a switch. They kept Saquon Barkley to 44 yards and 18 carries, Jahmyr Gibbs to 25 yards and 9 carries, and Derrick Henry to 75 yards on 20 carries.
Andrew Van Ginkel for Defensive Player of the Year. Like real. It's wild. I've also watched Minnesota put bad pass protecting running backs into complete blenders, and that's what DeAndre Swift is. So that makes me nervous. So I just dropped both Bears running backs down a lot because of the matchup, and I'm pretty sure Brian Flores is going to circle DeAndre Swift's pass protection as much as he can. We saw that with Jahmyr Gibbs a couple weeks ago, for example. So we'll see. Also, Chicago's team totals have been pretty solid for a lot of like the breakout from DeAndre Swift. And this week it's at like a league average at 22.5 points. So he plays a ton. He's still pretty explosive. He's going to get some goal line work. He's going to catch some passes. But this is a spot where I feel worse about DeAndre Swift because of the matchup.
I think that's a great point on a bunch of counts. One, he has at least 11 carries in every game he's played this season. But two, he's also averaging around 3 catches per contest. And like you said, they just forced Jahmyr Gibbs to pass protect 15 times by sending extra people or, lining up and filling all the gaps and then dropping out and all that type of stuff. And DeAndre Swift is very questionable in that regard. Woody Marks, my guy, is running back 21, coming off of a fantastic performance. Now he gets one of the easier matchups of the season. Yes, the Titans are coming off their bye. Maybe they get a bit healthier. And yes, this is on the road here. And yes, it seems like Davis Mills is once again going to be the starter because CJ Stroud is not practicing on Wednesday. But again, it wasn't just because they were down. Woody Marks started all opening 7 series and he even played all 4 snaps inside the 5-yard line and got the goal line opportunity on top of it too.
He's going to be the 2-minute guy. He's going to be the guy if the scoreboard goes sideways, which we're not expecting here, but just in case. And then, he season high 16.3 expected points. So both goal line opportunities. He's checking a lot of the boxes down. I don't see why they would all of a sudden like reinsert Nick Chubb back in there, though it is possible. Awaiting to see if Jeffrey Simmons is going to play. Like that's the one kind of injury update that would actually make me change the rankings just a little bit. He is at least a flex play. And then I think there's pretty clear path that he can end up being an RB2.
Kimani Vidal or Vidal, or I've heard it said number of different times in different ways. He's your running back 22 at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hayden, you are copping out on this one. Why? Because he's been running back 8, running back 7, and running back 8. And then also running back 33 and running back 44. So your running back 22 ranking is, again, right in the middle of all that.
Yeah, he's the RB25 and RB12 usage. So I'm playing this even Steven game across. My big note here, aside from Joe Alt, the offensive line is disaster level. And we have Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen out there. So it's not going to be easy. Offense is facing Jacksonville pass the ball at the highest rate in the NFL. Don't have to dare the Chargers to lean into that as well. And it's the Jaguars are like by themselves in that metric. So he's going to catch some passes. He is the goal line back. I'm not expecting them to like establish the run with Kimani.
I think what you just said plays a part in this, but we did bring it up for the Patriots, so we should do it with the Jaguars too. No running back has rushed for more than 63 yards in a game against the Jaguars so far this season on top of it. So bunch of big boys up front.
Oh yeah.
Big, long guys. RJ Harvey. Hayden, how does it feel to be 4 spots ahead of consensus rankings on RJ Harvey in his possible starting debut against the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, I feel good about this one. The hard part with this is you just never know with Sean Payton. Like, you just never freaking fully know. But
if it's someone else,
here.
do you think it's Jaleel McLaughlin?
I think it would be RJ Harvey, like, losing some snaps to Jaleel McLaughlin. I would be shocked if Jaleel McLaughlin, like, just is straight up in the J.K. Dobbins role. I can see it being, like, more even than we want it to be. So that's why I'm, like, kind of, like, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And on top of that, you get Steve Spagnuolo, the freaking Chiefs, Bo Nix, who's just been horrific this year. And now you get a coordinator who has seen him before. So don't love all that. The team total's only at 20 points. So I think before this week, before I was like looking into the matchups, I would have guessed I would have been ranking RJ Harvey even higher than this. But I think having a little bit more of a sensible approach here, acknowledging he has the athleticism to rip off a big play and have a huge week, but also like it is the Broncos offense right here. And he is a rookie that we have to make sure he gets the role that we're expecting to have.
So J.K. Dobbins was averaging 15 carries per game this season, doing nothing in the receiving department, like 1 catch per contest. So how many do you think of those 15 carries RJ Harvey is going to get? Not just like this week, but let's just say in aggregate moving forward.
10 of them, 11 of them, plus whatever RJ Harvey's getting. He should get 16 carries a game.
So if he gets 10 of them, that means he'll average about 15 carries per game, and he's already at about 2.5, 3 receptions per contest. So that would put him 17, 18 touches per contest, which is freaking sweet.
Yep. And then Jaleel McLaughlin will have 7 carries, and then you get the Tyler Bidet stuff, and they keep this thing moving.
I dare you, Sean Payton, to utilize your second round pick. Like what a second round pick running back should be. I dare you. Okay. On the opposite end, it's Kareem Hunt. He's running back 30, as you spoiled for everyone in consensus rankings, and running back 24 for you. This is at the Denver Broncos. And once again, one of these stats, Jonathan Taylor is the only RB to clear 70 rushing yards in a game against this Denver Broncos defense so far this season.
I mean, if Kareem Hunt even hits 60 rushing yards in this one, that would be a big win for him. So it's all about just the goal line touchdowns, which he's going to probably get. He's the RB 14 on RB 20 usage this month. Pacheco hasn't even missed the entire month. Like, that's just Kareem Hunt getting a bunch of work down there. Last year, he was an every week RB2 as the lead back, and this Chiefs team is better than that one. We should get offensive line back to better health going into the bye week. They were missing a lot of guys for various reasons. So hopefully that looks a little bit better. Not an easy matchup here whatsoever, but Kareem Hunt as the starter for the Chiefs has been like at least an RB24 in most weeks.
Rachaad White is your running back 25. I think there are a few details here that we need to bring up because Bucky Irving was seen at practice with pictures. Then Todd Bowles was asked about it in his post-practice press conference, and he basically shrugged it off. He was like, oh, it was a walkthrough and he was limited. So I still would expect Bucky Irving to miss week 11, but maybe this puts him back on track for week 12. And again, it's not the ankle, it's the shoulder that is the bigger issue here. And at the same time, always the shoulders, it's like, hey, one bad hit, especially for a smaller dude. And we don't know what the forecast will be after that.
Yeah, I'm sure the Bucs didn't learn anything about it because it's the shoulder and it was a walkthrough. So I think Todd Bowles was being honest there. So it was lucky for us that he's just even alive. Like, we haven't heard from him or seen him in a very long time. He's out there wearing a jersey. So this ranking assumes it's Rachaad White and Sean Tucker. We are learning some new things about the offense, though. Rachaad White is losing real snaps to Sean Tucker, and it's not just like, it's very like obvious what they're doing. Like, when they want an explosive run to the perimeter, it's more of the Sean Tucker stuff, and the Rachaad White's kind of handling like the journeyman kind of work. So this is a spot where it's not like a clean opportunity because the team total's lower. You're facing the Buffalo Bills, but the Bills have sucked stopping the run, and Ed Oliver's on injured reserve. They're allowing 5.4 yards per carry. So I wanted to give a boost to Rachaad White for that. But at the same time, I'm like, well, does that just mean they're going to play Sean Tucker more in this one? So I think this is more of an even split between those two than it was before the bye week. And they're missing a guard now in Ben Bredesen.
Bills have allowed a league high 4.17 yards after contact per rush. And we just saw it with Devon Achane this past week. Now, I'm not calling Rachaad White, someone that is frequently going to break tackles and all that type of stuff. But, if you break through to the first level and you hit the linebackers, and especially you hit the closing safeties in their lanes and their fill gaps, you have a chance to break one because their tackling has been dreadful so far. Emari Demercado pops up here as running back 26. If you're watching this right now and you are struggling at a flex spot because of injuries and bye weeks, Demercado might be a name you want to bring up. Why, Hayden?
Waiting for official news here, but Bam Knight got rolled up on pretty decent. It was like one of those where I'm like, I didn't love the way that looked. And that was in garbage time, so it wasn't really like discussed very much. Emari Demercado has been excellent, like in a part-time role for the Cardinals, and Michael Carter finished off that game. But we're talking like the last guy to get in, and everybody else is pretty much subbed out. So he's been extremely efficient, and the Cardinals are projected for a fine enough amount of points here with Jacoby Brissett. And you can even make the argument that Emari Demercado should just get more touches than Bam Knight because he's been ripping off multiple explosives. So I think he's averaging 9 yards per carry this year. So we'll find out more if Bam Knight's not going to play. But if that is the case and the ankle does pop up on the injury report, that would not surprise me.
I understand he dropped the football. He didn't get punished for it as much as some other guys have. But I actually feel like Emari Demercado has been their best running back since James Conner, went down.
Yeah. I mean, look at the yards per carry. He looks like Jamal Charles.
So that's interesting. We'll definitely check the Bam Knight stuff. And on Sunday morning, we'll have more of an update on our Start Sit show. David Montgomery is running back 27. Our standard line is when they're projected for 27, 28, 29 points, then it's a pretty good chance that David Montgomery scores a touchdown. When they're projected for 22, far less likely.
Yeah. I'm assuming Dan Campbell's going to keep calling plays, and how he handled the running backs was a drive-by-drive rotation where both backs can play all the snaps. So that's not the worst role for David Montgomery, but lower team total. So he's a flex guy only. He's not an RB2.
Moving on, because Ken Walker is the first of the Seahawks running backs on your list, despite me wondering if Ken Walker will score a touchdown for the next 8 weeks of the NFL season.
Yeah, and then the next guy is George Holani. I mean, it's a total mess at this point. Holani just checked in, like, they're at the 9-yard line.
It was one
his
play.
only snap.
One play. 9 yards. They're like,
house.
Oh, we have the perfect 9-yard play in our pocket. Clint Kubiak's like, I know the guy for it is George Holani. We've been practicing this for 3 weeks. And it was just an edge run.
Yeah, just hit it off and just goes. Then we see him in when they're kneeing the game out is the next snaps he gets. I can't explain this one. There's nothing about the rotation. They're not rotating drives anymore. At least I could have told you that. It was Walker, then Charbonnet, and then Walker back in for the next play. And then Kenneth Walker gets a goal line attempt. Then in comes Charbonnet.
I can literally see their eyes after each snap when they're walking back to the huddle. And it's just, they're looking to the sideline every single time. I'm literally yelling at my computer screen. Ken, don't look over there. Just look at Sam. And don't act like there's any chance you're getting subbed out here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the night at the Roxbury SNL. Be you. It's like, it's insane.
So frustrating.
I mean, it's insane. And this week they're playing the freaking Rams, who gave up their first rushing touchdown to a running back last week. The team total is only at 22.5 points. You can hope that this is the week where Kenneth Walker has that highlight play that will bring up on stats versus film, or we can just admit that he's an RB3 only. And that's just what it is.
If one of these teams, the Seahawks or the Rams, were going to blow out the other one, who do you think is the team that has the best chance of doing it?
It's probably the Rams. They've just been here, done it longer, but
that gives me some concern because, we've seen Sharps in the 2-minute drill. We've seen him in pass pro. We've seen him and do all that stuff. Ken Walker can pass pro too. And we know he can catch passes and make explosives off of them. But, maybe I would lean Sharps for that reason. But between them, I'll just throw up Zach Charbonnet's name, is Tyrone Tracy. He's your running back 29 against the Green Bay Packers. We will see if Mike Kafka has a preference of these running backs this week.
Yeah, I mean, Singletary in theory was a day ball guy going back all the way to Buffalo. But Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary have been there the whole time when Kafka's been calling plays. So did want to clarify that Brian Daboll was the head coach. He was not the play caller. So there's nothing that should really change about the offense, unless it's just now Jameis Winston's bringing a whole different style of offense, which I don't think they're going to get Jameis Winston the quarterback power department. How the running back split has been, though, is Tyrone Tracy plays a lot of the game. And then once they get inside the 10-yard line for the last 2 weeks, Devin Singletary has played 100% of the running back snaps, 100%. So I think that Devin Singletary, we'll get to him in a couple names here. I think that dart throw, deep league, I'm praying for a touchdown without Jackson Dart. I do think that Devin Singletary is potentially live there. But this is a split against the Packers. So, all
right. Tyler Allgeier is actually next for you, checking in as running back 31. You're expecting a touchdown, basically, potentially here against the Panthers.
That's what we're hoping for. There's nothing else we can really hope for, but he's 4 games over 10 half PPR points this year. It's about half the time
every single time in those games, he scored a touchdown. I'm sure of it. I mean, he's out-touched Bijan 12-4 inside the 10 and then 3-1 inside the 5-yard line this season. Devin Singletary's next. You already covered him. And then you have, Tyjae Spears posted a highlight comp of him breaking tackles this year. The Titans suck. Tyjae Spears is still fun. Then you have Sean Tucker and Blake Corum. Anything you want to add about those names?
Coming out of the bye for Tyjae Spears, I would like to see them lean into him. He's not an expiring contract, so why not see him? I think that he's played better than Tony Pollard this year as well, but you're going up against the Texans. You're projected for 16 points. You can only get so excited. But he's been averaging 8 expected points in the 4 games with Tony Pollard recently. Sean Tucker talked about him. I think that Sean Tucker is a fan favorite of the YouTube commenters. This is the week where I will join you guys for the first time of my life in acknowledging that I can see an outcome where he plays a lot more and the matchup is clean and he does have the talent to rip off an explosive play. So if you're in a really deep league and your team stinks and you got bye weeks and injuries and whatnot, I do think that we should get a couple Sean Tucker questions on the Sunday morning show.
There are two names I wanted to bring up here at the end because they have been startable in the past and they aren't in your top 35. The first one is Bill. Again, this is Sunday morning. This is at the Miami Dolphins. It's in Madrid. I think the biggest thing, sorry, I almost threw up on my mouth thinking about this Commanders offense.
Saw his box scores?
Yeah. I mean, I threw up at seeing he and Chris Rodriguez and Jerry McNichols all seeing anywhere from 21 to 26 snaps.
My notes for Bill was it's been 4 weeks since a Washington running back has eclipsed 9 expected points. So there's like chopping this thing up three ways. Bill over that same stretch is the RB 60 on RB 40 usage. So, we're just like hoping for him to hit an explosive. He was also the third guy to touch the ball in the backfield last week.
Chris Rodriguez has all 3 of the touches inside the 5-yard line over the past month for this backfield.
I should probably rank him higher than Bill this week.
Probably. And then the last one is Cal Monangai at the Minnesota Vikings. So we know what he did 2 weeks ago. He scored a touchdown last week despite playing fewer snaps. They did kind of rotate drives somewhat early on. Yeah. And obviously Swift's drives went longer. And again, Monangai, I think, is still a talented player. But does it go back to what you were saying of if Swift doesn't rank high, then the second person in this backfield is not going to rank high either.
Yeah. They're going to rotate drives until game script gets out of hand, where then they're going to play DeAndre Swift more for just like explosives in the pass game. But I have the same concerns with Kyle Monangai. Like, I think that Flores is going to try to get these running backs blocking in the A gap, and we'll hold on to our butts and see if that's going to work out for either one of them. Both of them have had issues in pass protection throughout like the course of the season.
All right. That does it. As always, on Friday and Saturday, we'll have wide receiver rankings and then quarterback and tight ends. Tomorrow, it's our second to last trades / rest of season rankings. If you have a trade question, get it in. I don't know if we have any as of yet, but we'll definitely talk about, the RG Harveys and the TreVeyonHendersons and that of the world rest of season with Faraz. So again, at least 3 more shows here on the channel, and then we do it all again on Sunday morning with a start sit show. Before we get out of here, once again, go play Pick'em or prediction markets or drafts over on Underdog. We're in over 40 states right now. If 6 months ago you couldn't play on UD, 2 years, 3 years ago, now you can. Promo code the show. Click the link in the description down below. If you play $5, I'll send you $100 in bonus cash. That's you, Texas, California, Georgia, Florida, Oregon, Missouri, Vermont. Don't forget about you, Vermont. All right, in Kansas. Okay.
Even the ugly states.
I bet Vermont
is
incredible.
It's gorgeous.
All the leaves are probably down by now.
It gets
too far
sloppy,
north.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I'm very happy I'm not living in that area anymore. Anyways, up the bill. We'll talk to y'all soon. See ya.